Postmedia Network plans to buy a minority stake in The Logic. That's a digital-only Canadian media outlet with a mandate to break tech-focused news through investigative journalism. Andrew McLeod, chief executive of Postmedia, owner, The National Post, and other publications, said that discussions began after he and Logic founder David Skok were introduced to each other a few months ago by a mutual acquaintance. Some of the details are still being worked out by the two companies, such as the size of Postmedia's investment, but McLeod said there will likely be some revenue sharing. But he also said there will be zero impact or reduction of Postmedia's own editorial coverage because they're very comfortable, in fact very proud, of their existing editorial footprint. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney began the spring sitting with his new United Conservative government by introducing a bill to kill the provincial carbon tax by May 30th.
Our first bill will be, as promised, the Carbon Tax Repeal Act. Promise made, promise kept. This will lift a $1.4 billion burden from Alberta's economy and will put that money back in Albertans' pockets where it belongs. After all, the carbon tax has been all economic pain and no environmental gain.
The rape and the abuse against Indigenous women goes up. Are you going to push this pipeline through? No means no, right? That pipeline's not, how dare you put 400 tankers through this body of water.
Anti-pipeline protester Will George of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation interrupts Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at a Liberal fundraiser in Vancouver. Dozens of anti-pipeline protesters gathered outside that event.
Indigenous voices like yours speaking up very strongly against this pipeline and against various projects. There are also, however, very strong Indigenous voices speaking up in favor of this project. And I know you don't mean to delegitimize their voices as well.
You threatened our lands and waters.
I have heard from some fellow leaders of yours.
You have no right to do that to us.
Sir, I have heard from some of your fellow Indigenous leaders. I've heard from some of your fellow Indigenous leaders who are in favor of resource development, who want to be partners in growing a stronger.
Why don't you talk to them? You talk to everybody that wants to sign off on this?
No, I've spoken with...
They have no resources. They can't hunt no more. They can't do this.
Will, I've heard you. I hear you today.
Canada's clean energy sector says it's growing faster than the economy as a whole and is rivaling some better-known industries for jobs. Clean Energy Canada is releasing a study today it commissioned to try to paint the first real picture of an industry it feels nobody knows much about, but that is critically important to the future, both in terms of climate change and the economy. Executive Director Maren Smith says even she was surprised to find out just how big the industry is. Nearly 300,000 people are directly employed across the industry, which encompasses everything from renewable energy production and transfer to public transit, and entrepreneurs developing products to help us live our lives producing fewer greenhouse gas emissions. Stats Canada data says there were nearly 100,000 more Canadians working in clean energy than in mining, quarrying, and oil and gas extraction back in 2017. The clean energy industry accounted for 3% of Canada's GDP in 2017.